Welcome to the History Uncovered, where ancient mysteries come alive before your eyes. Today we unveil the forbidden secrets buried deep within Egypt's legendary pyramids, those eternal monuments that continue to guard their mysteries across millennia. Join us on this extraordinary journey as we descend into hidden chambers and reveal truths that pharaohs desperately sought to protect from the world. First, the sacred architects of eternity. The sun blazed mercilessly over the Nile Valley as High Priest Imhotep stood before the gathered council of master builders, his weathered hands clutching scrolls containing geometric secrets passed down through generations. His eyes reflected the weight of sacred knowledge, understanding that these monuments would bridge the mortal realm with the eternal domains of the gods. The pharaoh had commanded the construction of a structure that would transcend human comprehension and stand as testimony to divine power. Within the shadowed halls of the temple complex, junior priests carefully transcribed the precise measurements and astronomical alignments that would govern every stone placement in the coming pyramid. These were not mere buildings, but cosmic machines designed to facilitate the pharaoh's transformation from earthly ruler to celestial deity. The calculations involved mathematical principles that modern scholars would not rediscover for thousands of years to come. Outside the temple walls, selected craftsmen gathered in secret workshops where they forged copper tools with edges sharp enough to cut through the hardest granite. These artisans belonged to hereditary guilds whose members swore blood oaths never to reveal the techniques they employed in shaping stones to tolerances of fractions of inches. Their skills represented generations of accumulated wisdom that distinguished them from common laborers toiling in the quarries. The architectural plans demanded perfect alignment with the cardinal directions, requiring observations of stellar movements across countless nights of patient astronomical study by priest astronomers. They tracked the circumpolar stars that never set below the horizon, believing these eternal celestial markers would guide the pharaoh's soul through the darkness. Every angle and proportion carried symbolic meaning, connecting earthly geometry with divine order pervading the cosmos. Deep beneath the construction site, workers excavated chambers through solid bedrock, creating spaces that would remain hidden from all but the highest initiates. These subterranean rooms would house sacred objects and texts too powerful to expose to sunlight or profane eyes. The very act of carving these spaces required purification rituals and constant prayers to prevent spiritual contamination. As limestone blocks weighing multiple tons arrived from distant quarries, specialized teams positioned them using techniques involving water channels, copper saws, and engineering principles that defied conventional understanding. The blocks fit together so precisely that not even a blade could slip between adjacent stones in many sections. This level of craftsmanship suggested knowledge far beyond what historians typically attribute to ancient civilizations. Within the emerging structure, architects incorporated ascending and descending passages aligned with specific stellar configurations visible only during certain seasons of the year. These corridors would serve purposes both practical and mystical, creating pathways for the pharaoh's spirit while also encoding astronomical knowledge. The angles of inclination matched celestial phenomena with such precision that coincidence seemed an inadequate explanation. Secret chambers were constructed with false walls and hidden entrances designed to deceive potential tomb robbers who might breach the outer defenses in future centuries. The architects understood human greed and mortality, planning for threats that would emerge long after their own deaths. They created elaborate deceptions, including dead-end passages, false burial chambers, and architectural illusions meant to protect the true sanctum. The construction site transformed into a sacred city where thousands labored not as slaves, but as devoted participants in a divine undertaking that would ensure cosmic order. They believed their work transcended mere stone cutting, becoming instead a holy act that would sustain the universe itself. The pyramid rising before them represented nothing less than the axis connecting heaven and earth in physical form. Second, chambers of the celestial guardians. Far beneath the pyramid's visible exterior, Master masons carved a network of chambers that would never appear on any public architectural plans or royal records. These hidden spaces existed in absolute darkness, accessible only through concealed shafts requiring intimate knowledge of the structure's secret geometry. Within these chambers, the most sacred objects of the kingdom would rest undisturbed for eternity. The largest hidden chamber featured walls covered in hieroglyphic texts describing the pharaoh's journey through the underworld, facing challenges and demons that awaited every soul. These were not the public religious texts displayed in temples, but secret formulas known only to the highest priests of specific mystery cults. The words themselves carried power, and speaking them incorrectly could doom the speaker's soul to eternal wandering. Gold-encased statues of protective deities stood sentinel in the corners of these chambers, their eyes fashioned from precious stones that seemed to gleam with inner light. These were not mere representations, but vessels believed to contain actual divine presence, activated through complex rituals performed during the pyramid's consecration. The statue's positioning corresponded to cosmic coordinates, forming a protective matrix around the central sarcophagus. Elaborate false chambers had been constructed above the true burial vault, complete with convincing sarcophagi and funerary equipment meant to satisfy robbers. The architects understood that human greed would eventually penetrate even the most sophisticated physical defenses. These decoy chambers protected secrets more valuable than gold, preserving knowledge that could grant power over life and death. Within the genuine burial chamber, the pharaoh's sarcophagus rested upon a raised platform precisely aligned with the North Star visible through a narrow shaft. This stellar connection was believed to provide a ladder for the royal soul to ascend to the celestial realm. The shaft's angle had been calculated with such precision that it maintained alignment, despite the slow precession of Earth's axis. Concealed compartments built into the chamber walls contained papyrus scrolls documenting astronomical observations, mathematical theorems, and medical knowledge accumulated over centuries by Egypt's scholarly elite. These texts represented the pinnacle of ancient learning, too valuable and potentially dangerous to risk in public libraries or temple archives. Future generations of initiates would access this knowledge through secret traditions passed orally from master to student. The chamber's ventilation system demonstrated engineering sophistication that ensured air circulation while maintaining complete concealment from external observation or intrusion. These shafts followed tortuous paths through the pyramid's interior, incorporating multiple changes of direction to prevent direct sightlines. Their existence was known only to the architects who designed them and the priests who supervised the construction. Ceremonial objects placed throughout the hidden chambers included implements for rituals that would be performed in the afterlife, fashioned from materials believed to possess supernatural properties. Meteorite iron blades, obsidian mirrors for scrying, and crystal vessels for sacred oils filled recesses carved into the bedrock beneath the pyramid. Each object had been consecrated through elaborate ceremonies involving multiple priests over many days. The chamber complex included a small sanctuary where living priests could enter periodically to perform maintenance rituals, ensuring the continued efficacy of protective spells. These visits occurred through passages that were then sealed and concealed after each use, requiring subsequent priests to find new entry points. This system ensured that knowledge of access routes would die with each generation, making the chambers progressively more secure. Third, rituals of the Hidden Brotherhood. As construction neared completion, the High Priest initiated a select group of younger priests into the Brotherhood of the Sealed Eye, a secret society dedicated to protecting the pyramid's deepest mysteries. Their initiation occurred at midnight within the pyramid's still unsealed interior, surrounded by flickering torchlight that cast dancing shadows on smooth limestone walls. These men would carry knowledge that could never be written down, preserved only through oral tradition and symbolic gestures. The initiates descended into the hidden chambers through a vertical shaft that would be permanently sealed after the final ceremony, their feet finding purchase on carved footholds. They carried no light save small oil lamps that barely penetrated the profound darkness surrounding them. The descent itself represented a symbolic death and rebirth, passing from the world of sunlight into mysteries concealed from mortal understanding. Within the deepest chamber, the high priest revealed the true purpose of specific architectural features whose functions transcended conventional burial practices or astronomical observation. He explained how certain stones had been positioned to create resonant frequencies when struck in precise sequences, producing sounds believed to open doorways. These acoustic secrets transformed the pyramid into an instrument capable of generating vibrations that affected consciousness and reality itself. The Brotherhood learned to interpret hieroglyphic texts encoded with multiple layers of meaning, where surface religious narratives concealed mathematical formulas and astronomical data. A single passage might simultaneously describe mythological events while providing precise calculations for predicting celestial phenomena decades in advance. This encryption ensured that sacred knowledge remained accessible only to those possessing the proper keys of interpretation. Ritual implements were distributed among the initiates, each object carrying specific symbolic significance and practical function in ceremonies that would maintain the pyramid's spiritual integrity. Bronze wands for channeling energy, ceremonial daggers for blood offerings, and censers for burning specific incense blends became the tools of their sacred office. They practiced the precise gestures and intonations required to activate each implement's latent power. The high priest demonstrated how to navigate the pyramid's interior using subtle architectural markers, invisible to untrained observers, signs that would guide future initiates through the darkness. A slightly protruding stone here, an unusual joint pattern there, these details formed a map readable only by those who knew the code. This ensured that even if written records were destroyed, the initiated could always find their way. They learned the calendar of required rituals, ceremonies timed to solstices, equinoxes, and stellar alignments when the boundary between physical and spiritual realms grew thin. These observances required precise timing and location within the pyramid's interior, performed at specific chambers during particular astronomical configurations. Missing even a single ceremony could weaken the protective spells and invite catastrophic spiritual contamination. The Brotherhood swore oaths of secrecy, so binding that violation meant not merely death, but eternal damnation. Their souls condemned to wander the desert wastes forever. They understood these were not empty threats, but statements of mystical fact, enforced by forces beyond human authority. The weight of this responsibility transformed them, etching lines of premature age onto faces of men who had witnessed secrets mortals were never meant to know. As their initiation concluded, each new brother received a small amulet carved with symbols identifying them to others of their order while remaining meaningless to outsiders. These tokens would allow them to recognize fellow initiates across decades and distances, maintaining a network of guardians dedicated to preserving mysteries. They emerged from the pyramid's depths forever changed, carrying burdens that would shape the remainder of their lives. Fourth, astronomical secrets in stone. The pyramid's exterior casing stones had been polished to mirror-like smoothness, creating a surface that blazed with reflected sunlight visible for miles across the desert landscape. Yet this spectacular effect served purposes beyond mere aesthetic grandeur, functioning as a massive solar observatory and calendar. The reflection patterns changed throughout the year, marking seasonal transitions with precision that rivaled modern astronomical instruments. Priest astronomers spent countless nights atop the pyramid's platforms, tracking stellar movements against the distant horizon and recording their observations in detailed logs. They noted the heliacal rising of Sirius, coinciding with the Nile's annual flood, recognizing connections between celestial and terrestrial cycles. Their measurements achieved accuracy that would not be matched again until the development of telescopic astronomy thousands of years later. The pyramid's four sides faced the cardinal directions with such precision that modern surveyors express amazement at the minimal deviation from true north. This alignment required astronomical observations of circumpolar star rotation over extended periods, demanding patience and mathematical sophistication. The builders understood that their monument would endure for millennia, making permanent alignment with cosmic constants more important than temporary earthly markers. Internal shafts pointed toward specific stars that held religious significance in Egyptian cosmology, creating sightlines that functioned during particular seasons and hours. The southern shaft aligned with Orion's belt, constellation associated with Osiris and the afterlife, while the northern shaft targeted the imperishable stars. These astronomical orientations transformed the pyramid into a three-dimensional star chart encoded in architectural form. The structure's dimensions embodied mathematical relationships, including the golden ratio and pi, suggesting knowledge of advanced geometric principles. Whether the builders consciously incorporated these constants or arrived at them through aesthetic intuition remains debated, but their presence indicates sophisticated understanding. The pyramid's proportions created harmonic relationships that extended from human scale to cosmic dimensions. Shadows cast by the pyramid during equinoxes created phenomena that marked precise moments of seasonal transition, functioning as a massive sundial calibrated to solar cycles. Observers positioned at specific locations could witness the shadow's edge bisecting architectural features exactly at noon on solstice days. These alignments enabled accurate calendar maintenance essential for agricultural planning and religious observances. The pyramid's mass and geometry created subtle gravitational and magnetic anomalies detectable with sensitive instruments, effects the ancient builders may have perceived through means unknown. Some researchers speculate that priests developed sensitivity to these forces, using them for purposes we can barely imagine. The structure interacted with Earth's magnetic field in ways that might have influenced consciousness or health. Calculations encoded in the pyramid's dimensions revealed knowledge of Earth's circumference, the distance to the Sun, and the precession of the equinoxes. This astronomical information was preserved in architectural form more durable than any written text, surviving millennia when libraries burned and civilizations crumbled. The pyramid itself became a message to future ages, demonstrating capabilities that challenge conventional historical narratives. The pyramid complex functioned as an integrated astronomical observatory, calendar, and temple where celestial knowledge merged with religious practice in ways that acknowledged no distinction. The priests who maintained these observations understood themselves as participants in cosmic order, their work sustaining the universe itself. Through careful measurement and ritual observance, they believed they helped maintain the delicate balance between chaos and creation. Fifth, the final seal of the pharaohs. As the pharaoh's death approached, preparations intensified within the pyramid's hidden chambers where his eternal journey would begin. Teams of priests conducted final inspections, ensuring every protective spell remained intact and all sacred objects rested in their appointed positions. The pyramid had transformed from construction project to cosmic machine, ready to facilitate the royal transformation from mortality to divinity. The pharaoh's body underwent mummification processes whose deepest secrets were known only to the hereditary guild of embalmers, men who worked in isolated facilities away from public view. They removed organs destined for canopic jars, while preserving the heart, seat of intelligence and emotion required for judgment in the afterlife. Special resins and oils imported from distant lands were applied according to formulas thousands of years old. On the night chosen for interment, a torchlit procession wound its way toward the pyramid's entrance, priests chanting prayers that had echoed through these corridors during construction. The sarcophagus containing the pharaoh's wrapped body was maneuvered through passages so narrow that engineers had designed special sledges for this singular journey. Every participant understood they were witnessing the conclusion of earthly existence and the beginning of eternal cosmic adventure. Within the burial chamber, the sarcophagus was positioned with astronomical precision, while priests performed final consecration rituals, invoking protective deities and reciting passages from sacred texts. Gold and jewels surrounded the pharaoh, not merely as wealth, but as spiritually charged objects that would aid his transformation. Magical amulets had been placed between the mummy's wrappings at prescribed locations, each one activated through specific incantations. The high priest performed the opening of the mouth ceremony, using ceremonial implements to ritually restore the pharaoh's senses for use in the afterlife. This mystical procedure touched the mummy's face while pronouncing words of power, theoretically returning ability to breathe, speak, eat, and perceive. The ritual represented the pivotal moment when the deceased transformed from corpse to living spirit inhabiting a new form of existence. As priests retreated from the burial chamber, they activated the sealing mechanisms that would close the pyramid's interior passages forever. Massive granite plugs slid into position along descending corridors, creating barriers that would resist penetration for millennia. Additional concealed portcullises dropped into place, while false walls swung closed to hide the true entrance to the burial chamber. The final priest to leave performed the ultimate sealing ritual, speaking words that were supposed to activate supernatural protections more effective than physical barriers. He invoked curses upon anyone who would disturb the pharaoh's rest, calling upon ancient powers to strike down tomb robbers with disease and misfortune. These were not mere threats, but attempts to manipulate spiritual forces through correctly pronounced formulas. Outside the pyramid, remaining access points were filled with rubble and concealed beneath new masonry, erasing evidence of entrances that had facilitated construction. The pyramid's exterior presented an unbroken surface to the world, a perfect geometric form unmarred by obvious openings. This transformation from permeable construction site to sealed monument occurred within hours, following plans prepared years earlier. The Brotherhood of the Sealed Eye dispersed to temple postings throughout Egypt, each member carrying fragments of knowledge that formed a complete picture only when combined. They would never gather again as a complete group, ensuring that no single person or place held all secrets. As decades passed, the pyramid stood unchanged above shifting desert sands, guarding mysteries that would outlast the civilization that created it. The pyramids stand as eternal testaments to human ambition, spiritual devotion, and intellectual achievement that transcends our modern understanding. The history uncovered has journeyed with you through hidden chambers and secret rituals, revealing glimpses of mysteries still guarded by stone and sand. If this exploration has captivated your imagination, honor these ancient secrets by liking, commenting, and subscribing to join our ongoing quest for historical truth.